And gentlemen, at this time, we want to welcome you here to focus on Liberia to our broadcast. Welcome, welcome, and welcome wherever you are. And this is Focus on Liberia. Today is Saturday, and in this edition of our show, we are having a debate. And welcome to the show. And folks, we can always ask you enough to hit that share button for us so that others who you know can be a part of this conversation. And that is not an ordinary conversation, that is a debate. If you are like me who love debate, then this is where you need to be. And that is why you need to share the show. And this is FOL debate, that is focused on Liberia debate. In this debate, we are looking at the Senatorial midterm election scheduled for December 8, 2020. And we are looking at two blocs, two political blocs, by the way, the CPP and the CDC. And we want to be able to tell who's going to be dancing that lip, that what they call the victory lap in December. And we have two outstanding debaters here in person of Macaulay Wooler and Steve Boley. But I will turn things over to my man Dennis Jar for further introduction of the show. Dennis, as you can see, I'm fired up. I'm ready. Let's do it.
You love this politics business, Anthony.
Let's go.
Welcome, gentlemen. Steve representing the one bloc, that's the collaborating political parties. According to Steve, he's not a member, but he's independent, but he support the candidates of the coming from the CPP. Macaulay Wright, on the other hand, is a full-fledged member of the CDC, and he's going to be debating in favor of the Coalition for Democratic Change, supporting all its candidates. Joining us also on this debate night is our man from the FOL Marketplace, William Thomas Bernard King. We want to say welcome, William. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy to be here to watch this wonderful debate. And lately, I know that our gentleman from the CDC side, he may have a little bit of ammo, as we've been seeing lately on Facebook about the construction, about some of those homes and stuff that's been going on. So this looked to be something that's going to be very eventful. So click your share, folks, and we look forward to it. Back to our debaters. Dennis, please let you know who to go next.
All right. So Macaulay and Steve, this is not a strange territory for them, but Steve, welcome. Your thoughts before we begin. Few words.
Thank you, as always, to Focus on Liberia. Thanks to the moderators tonight, to our viewers, the Liberian people all around the world. Thanks to Mr. Macaulay for being on as well. I'd like to start off tonight by saying to remember the Liberian people, because I believe they're the most important people on earth. And every time I have the opportunity to speak to the Liberian people in public, I like to acknowledge them, whether it's in public or in private. I also like to start this conversation by recognizing the Liberian women. I believe Liberian women are the most beautiful women, and all the gentlemen on here today can attest to that. That it is a fact, it's undebatable, and it is realistic, it is truth, and it is timely. That being said, I want to say thank you, and I look forward to a fruitful conversation here that will be educative, informative, and factual as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Wooler.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. Thank you, Stolen. Thank you to all of you from the Focus on Liberia family. Thanks to my brother Bole for taking the invite for us to have this conversation tonight or this evening, depending on where you are. I will hope that this will be a very frank discussion, and we would keep it in context, especially about the senatorial by-elections, and I am here to provide our listeners with a proper understanding in terms of how we can contextualize this particular senatorial by-election and why is it advantageous to vote for the candidate of the CDC over that of the CPP. So I look forward to a healthy debate. Thank you very much again for the opportunity.
With the stage being set, we have our audience all tuned in and listening. They have invited to grab some champagne. I got my glass of water. Anthony, it's time to start, so I switch it back to you.
Dennis, thank you. And thanks to our debaters as well as our listeners for being here. If you were not here, we would not be here to do what we do here at Focus on Liberia by educating, elevating, and promoting all things Liberia. And this time around, we are trying to promote the political debate in Liberia. And I want to dearly welcome you to the broadcast. Gentlemen, we will be taking opening question statement actually from you, and that is for you to give your overall assessment about the Senatorial May 10 election coming up in December. We will start with Steve Bully. Mr. Bully, from the look of things, what is your assessment? You think which way the thing gonna go? It will go CPP or it will go CDC?
Well, from the look of things, I'd like to say I trust the judgment of the Liberian people. I trust that they will do the right things. And so with that being said, I trust that they would provide another 9 years or 9 years to Senator Darius DeLong to hold the CDC-led government accountable and to also change the trajectory of our country in terms of transparency, accountability, and also impacting the Senate. That being said, I want to be clear on something just before we move forward. I want to make a disclaimer from my end that I'm not Darius DeLong's spokesman, neither am I the CPP spokesman. I'm not a member of the CPP. I do support candidates within the CPP, not all candidates, but I do support some candidates within the CPP. And also, I also like to make this clear that I take full responsibility of everything I say here, and I'm responsible for my words. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Steve Bullet right there. Let's come to you, Mr. Uller. From the local things, what is your general assessment? You think it's going to go the way of the CDC?
Yes, obviously, that would be my hope. That would be my expectation, and I hope CDC can win this election because of a few reasons. We'll get into all of the small particles later, but if we look at it from the perspective of who is a lawmaker, who is a senator, and all of those things, the reason that if you understand the actual meaning of the lawmakers, and especially on individual, because the nation as a whole is a whole, right? Mm-hmm. And then in terms of representation, it becomes a little bit of a selfish decision-making process. So we send our best as individual counties to represent us at that level and to make a case for us and to be able to meet our demands or our expectation or our needs. So if we understand it from that perspective, if I right now sitting in Montserrado County as a resident of Montserrado or as a resident of Grand Bassa County, there is no reason why I'll be voting for Darius DeLong or I'll be voting for Youngly Kanga Lawrence, because I obviously understands the workings of government. If you understand the workings of government, it will only be a logical reason to vote for Thomas Fala or to vote for Wesonga Finley in the case of, I'm just using Grand Bassa and Montserrado County for now.
Yeah, those are our two key studies.
So we're going to all of the constitutional reason, the oversight reason, the lawmaking reason, and all of those reasons why it is only better to vote for the candidate of the Congress for Democratic Change.
Thank you, Mr. Macaulay right there, giving his overall assessment of the race. Mr. Jai, are you ready for our first segment?
Oh, I'm all set. And viewers, at the end, we're going to be asking you. So listen keenly. We want you to be as objective as possible. The debates here, these things are held here so as to form part of the educational process for our country. So we want you to come in with an open mind. You could be a sedition or a CPP person, but come with an open mind and listen to the people that are debating and see the facts they are presenting, see how they are able to back up their argument, Do not come that because I'm CPP, so everything Steve says is correct and everything Macaulay says is wrong. Or do not come as a CDC person that everything Macaulay says is right and everything Steve says is wrong. If we do that, we are doing a disservice to our country. Let us be able to objectively listen to these two fine gentlemen and be able to analyze what they are saying and make an informed decision. With that being said, I'm all pumped up and ready to do this.
All right, let's go into our first question here, gentlemen, and pay attention. The first question here, and my colleague, you're going to go first this time. What record is the CDC running on for which you hold the opinion that at the end of this senatorial by-election, CDC will be dancing that victory lap? What record are they running on?
Well, so it's kind of that's an interesting question, but I want to look at it from this perspective. Like I stated initially, we know one of the functions of a lawmaker is what? Representation. And another function of a lawmaker is to provide oversight. Okay. And if we look at it from those perspectives of lawmaking and oversight, let me give you an example, my dear brother. I've been following Senator DeLong, who, DeLong, the senator and I, we have a long history. That's just an example. And we worked at the legislature together. Our offices were next to each other. And I don't know if I should say coincidentally, we were living in the same community, Little Pennant community, for some time before I moved out. Okay, so from that perspective, I've also been following the activities of late since this whole by-election started. And the senator, for example, if I'm a resident of Montserrado County, the government is functioning and the budget has been passed and there are obstacles and all of those things. I need my lawmaker to be able to maneuver all of the bureaucracies in government to make sure that we benefit fully from.
Mr. Wallace, sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I just want us to start on a very basic level. So the first question, and I will be also monitoring the time. The first question, according to our say, you have 3 minutes. And so we want you to go directly to the question being asked so that we'll be able to score this debate. So the question here is, what record is the CDC running on in all the counties, or specifically Montserrado and Grand Bassa? What records is this the CDC running on to be able to win?
Okay, if you want to go that way, I don't mind. You are the host, and so let me go straight into when we talk about record. So the CDC, obviously, there are a few things. One, we are running on a record of the change that we promised. All of the change that we promised the Liberian people, we have just been in power for 2 years, 8 months. Are we delivering on those promises we made to the Liberian people? If you ask my colleague, I will tell you, yes, we are delivering. If you ask at the speed, at what speed are you guys delivering on? That would be a separate debate because I myself personally, I am not satisfied with the speed at which we are delivering on. But if we look at a few things, those things are really affecting and impacting our people negatively. We will look at, for example, roads. People always try to downplay the issue of roads when historically our cry in Liberia, one of our major cries has been the issue of roads. Mr. Jah, you are from the southeastern region, for example. I know you know what your people back home there experience during the rainy season, how life is, how disconnected they are from the rest of the country, how much price they pay for basic commodities and services. So the CDC has been delivering in regards to what? Expanding access to good roads across our country. For example, you are very aware, or you should be aware, that the CDC has already consummated, about to start this coming dry season, the road connecting from Maryland through Grand Creek to Greenville, Sano County. You are aware that the bidding process also has concluded for the road from Ganta to Tapita. You are also aware that as we speak today, the road is the construction of the road from Ganta to Yekepa, from Yekepa onward to Saniquele, from Ganta to Saniquele, Yekepa to Lokatu border. You are aware of the project from what, Bon County to Zozo, from Zozo passing through Konya to Vonjiman. Okay, you are aware of all of these different projects. You are aware of the construction, soon to start construction of counties capital, starting with Sino, Bapolu, and the first three counties initially. But more besides roads in itself are not the only thing that can kind of catapult people out of poverty. What can we look at again? Let's look at the issue of access to electricity. When we talk about economic development, we talk about economic progress. People think that there is a magic wand that people can turn. No. To have economic progress, you need roads, you need electricity, you need skilled labor, you need security, you need a lot of other things, good health and all of those things. Are the CDC tackling all of those things that will make Liberia a better place for investment? I would say yes. I just talked about roads. I'm also going to tell you about today, access to electricity in Liberia has doubled. I was just, before CDC took over, we had less than 7% of our people having access to electricity. Today, that figure has doubled in Liberia. Electricity, as we speak today, they are concluding the transit site in Grand Bassa County.
Your 3 minutes is over.
Going to Cape Mount.
Mr. Ray, I think your 3 minutes is over. Then you need to keep the time, or Willen can keep the time if you're not paying attention to the time. Mr. Ray, your 3 minutes is over. Thank you.
Say I'm not paying attention, Mr. C. Watch your words.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
So
go.
While you're keeping the time, go ahead. But I felt that the 3 minutes is over.
Go ahead, Steve. It's now your turn.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ja. As I listen here to Mr. Webb, I think we ought to be honest from the get-go to start this entire thing. Because if we are to inform and also educate our people, then it has to be factual. It's okay to say the truth. There is nothing wrong. That being said, the opposition, apart from the United-led government, the United Party-led government, which led the country for 12 years, put the country, I believe, to some extent on a good trajectory and a good path before turning over to George Weah in 2018. However, I would say there were some lapses, there were some problems within the United Party, which I'm not here to defend. But I want to be honest here. If we go back 2 years or 3 years to where the country was, when this country was hand-delivered to the CDC-led government, the country is on a bad trajectory. And it stems from basic things. I'm not going to play into the little road building here, road building there. Those are just wasting of time. But let me get to the nitty-gritty of it. Basic healthcare. Yes.
Steve, yeah, let me stop you. The same thing I did to my colleague. I want you to tell us the record that the CPP will be running on in this election.
So one of the records the CPP will be running on in these elections is to ensure that the CDC-led government is held accountable, to ensure that the Senate has a check and balance with the presence of Darius Dillon, Senator Yomdi Kanga, and other members who are now trying to open up what is happening within the Senate and in other parts, even with the presence of Yeke Kolba in lower house, and these guys are bringing these things of transparency to the Liberian people, where in the Liberian people know exactly who is doing what, and this is what the CDC-led government does not want. But not only that, the CPP is also running on a mantra of opening up what is going on in the country as to educate people, making everything factual. So let's take, for example, we are not speaking today about the US rate anymore because we seem like after 2 years, of them not being able to solve the problem, guess what? We're not talking about it anymore. We're not exposing it anymore. But when people in the opposition talk about it, it becomes a problem. There are excuses. So I'm saying to the Liberian people, they should give the CPP, some members of the CPP political party, a chance going forward, because the CDC-led government has failed them. They have not kept their promises. All they've done is they've lied, made excuses, and they've covered up their lies, and they do not want transparency and accountability within the Liberian government, whether it's from the presidency, whether it's in legislature or the judiciary. These guys are covering up everything. So that being said, I would say Delon should be voted in, Yombli Kanga should be voted back in, and some members within the CPP should be voted back into the positions as to hold this government's feet to fire and inform the Liberian people.
All right,
you still have 1 more minute, so let me add to that to say, so you say holding the government feet to the fire is one of the records. So can you show us that they have done that in the previous time?
Oh, they've done that.
I want you to see records.
They've done that in the previous time. As to let's go back. If you want us to go back into history just a little bit, when it came to the Ibomas and Itolo, Delon wasn't even in the Senate. This is one of the person that raised up the alarm that this was a fraudulent activity. But not only that, when it came to the removal of Kabina Jane, one of the very first big political moves that the CDC-led government took upon once they took over, when it came to it, members within the opposition party, at that time Delon was not even senator, guess what? Stood against it and spoke against it because he saw forth that this was a trap and a standard that these guys were setting as to take the country back. They were trying to basically get rid of the rule of law, get rid of people who will hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. C, back to you.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Gentlemen, at this time, we will be going into rebuttal. And Steve, you will go first. You listened to my colleague earlier. When we asked him the question, what record will the CDC be running on in order for it to prepare itself to victory comes December? He said roads, electricity, projects all around, I'm just trying to paraphrase him, but the emphasis he laid there was on roads. All right, that the government is carrying on projects here and there. Electricity, according to him, they have doubled it. So what is your rebuttal to that? Do you think he's telling the truth or not?
Well, in all honesty, I would say the contrary. The CDC-led government has ran on excuses, promises, lies, and unrealistic goals. So I say this to say that we see that in how they go about things. Let's give it the most recent time. Let's give it most recent event. When it came to the distribution of the state of emergency, that was foods and stuff that were allocated for the people, the money that was allocated for the people, the CDC-led government was in charge. What happened? Almost everybody in the country has complained that they have not received food. They have not received those things that were allocated. That's one. Not only to talk about that, if we even go back to the budget, you go back to the budget, the fiscal budget for last year, you see how monies were allocated, how monies were distributed. They did not reflect the people. They did not reflect the interests of the Liberian people. How can you say they are constructing roads, they are doing this to benefit the people, but yet and still, your budget don't reflect the people. The things that you do not reflect the people. The money that you allocate do not reflect the people. It only reflects the president and a certain group of people around him. And you want to come here and say, oh, the CDC-led government is running on roads and all of this and all of that. Then we can go back into history and compare as to how much roads have the George Weah-led government constructed, who financed it, because I know the next debate or the next argument will be government is continuity. That's good. That's truth. But when has the CDC-led government gone out to allocate funds to be able to, for their own project? So they are relying on the Ellen-led government project or the UP-led government project that they are constructing road and breaking grounds for. They have not been able to allocate funds to be able to come to the Liberian people and say, this is what we brought to you to be able to construct this road. This is the plan. This is what we have done. Not the CDC-led government have not been able to do that. So I want to say to Mr. Macaulay, that's not being factored to the Liberian people.
Thank you. That was within the 2 minutes. That is good. Mr. Ray, you have 2 minutes to rebut what Steve said. He said the opposition has been able to hold the government accountable or feet to the fire, as people will always say. Any truth to that, in your opinion, your rebuttal?
Well, I don't know when you say accountable. I don't understand what he means, but from my what I can say is I don't know if my brother is actually following because he making some references that are not factual. For example, he talked about CDC have not been able to go out there and source funding for any of our own projects and all of those things. So I mentioned about the role from Maryland County to Grand Crew to Greenville Sando County. I don't know if you got any idea what is the funding is coming from. But if not, it is coming from the ECOWAS bank sourced by the CDC-led government. I don't know if you're following what is happening on the Lofa Road, fundings that have been sourced by the CDC-led government. I don't know if you're following what is happening with the Ganta to Tapita Road, where the World Bank and the current government just finalizing the bidding process for that road. I don't know if you're following also the Rabos International Airport Road and many other things. So I hope my brother should go and follow some of those things. And I was talking also about electricity. I don't know if my brother is also following about CDC carrying on multiple projects in the energy sector to give a lot of different options and sources for energy. You are very aware, say, about the green energy project that is ongoing in Nima County. You should be aware of the little dam that is being constructed in the southeast, and all of those other projects. But I think what is happening is people have the preconceived notion. Even before George Weah became president, George Weah has failed and this and that. So when it comes, they are not coming with that independent or free mind to really look at Liberia's situation. I tell people all the time, I support CDC, I'm a seditian, but I am also a Liberian first before being a seditian. And I understand the challenges. I understand how our people are suffering back home there. But when I come to discuss Liberia or Liberia governance issue, I come with an open mind to listen to people in the opposition and look at the criticism and see how best myself can rationalize it to some of my colleagues in government.
Mr. Ray, your time is out. Thank you. Again, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is a Saturday night debate here. FOL, that is Focus on Liberia debate. In this debate, we are looking at the CPP and the CDC come this senatorial midterm in December. Who going to win more seats? That is the debate we are having. Mr. Makode is representing the side of the CDC. For Steve Bolle, he is not a member of the CPP. He's an independent, but he supports most of the CPP candidates, and that is why he's here to argue that side. Gentlemen, we will be coming in with our questions now, we the moderators, and be prepared. And this section might take about 10 minutes, and we'll move to the next segment. My first question to you, Mr. Ray, in your expose, you place your emphasis on roles as one of the records that the CDC will be running on to prepare it to victory. But of the road projects that we've heard about, the most talked about one was the Coastal Highway, and that brought about Ibomaf and Eton about 1 billion United States dollars supposed to be secured. What has happened to Ibomaf and Eton? And if those fail, why should we believe anything else coming from the mouth of the CDC in terms of record?
So I like the topic. I love the discussion whatsoever it is, but it's kind of a little like we drifting a little bit from the whole purpose of educating our people on why to vote for certain legislative candidates. But no problem with even the current topic on the discussion. See, I don't know if you are kind of somebody that a progressive person. I want to believe you are. And if you are a progressive person, we all look. We have long since passed this whole Iboma thing. I don't know why people keep bringing it up. The truth is, see, even in your personal life, for some of us that also go into business and stuff like that, we understand in your personal life you go through deals. those deals, they either work or they don't work. The government made it very clear. The government did not lose anything in terms of the Iboma deal. Iboma was a company, they came, they promised, they said they had the capacity to raise certain funding that were going to help us carry on our road project. We said, fine, okay, let's go ahead. And if they fail, that it did not take anything away from us. We did not give Iboma any of our resources. We did not get any funding. We did not give them anything. So why are we still kind of a holy? And that's the problem I get with our brothers in the opposition. They try to just narrow and they don't want to progress. Obviously, we have long transcended that whole Iboma stuff. We are talking about government will build roads. Is the government building roads or not? The question, that should be the question. And the answer is yes. I just listed a lot of different roads in different regions.
Thank you.
And I didn't even list all of the different roads. And I will also go into electricity. I also started to lay a premise of how we are increasing access to electricity.
Thank you.
Across Montserrado and across Liberia. Those are facts. Those are not my opinions.
Thank you. I got a follow-up, and I also have a question for Steve. Mr. Wula, this is my question. We are asking for the, you and I know the function of a senator. You are talking about roads. How does a senator run on a road project that his government is building? In other words, what does a road got to do with what the senator is supposed to be doing? Why I'm asking that is whether we elect, if the government has its priority and things that it's supposed to do, whether Fala is elected or not, we're going to be having the government go ahead and build those roads, right? So what does a senator running on record got to do with roads and electricity?
Thank you. I love that. The thing is, Mr. Jai, speaking from experience though, I know, for example, if I am from Montserrado County, we have the County Development Fund, okay, or during the budgeting period, we have these debates, right? People come and everybody kind of are making a case before the committee and stuff like that on how those resources should be distributed across the country. If I am a senator, like in the case of Senator, let me just use the Montserrado, which is the most talked about election, Senator DeLong or Representative Fala, can Senator DeLong actually make an influential case for the people of Montserrado County to benefit from that distribution? Because yes, the government will do what she can do, but also the government is the entire country. So it's all about influence and how well a senator or lawmaker can influence for his people's interest. And that is where I can tell you, that is where Senator Fala's strength comes in. Because Senator DeLong, we have already tested him. We all know that the only thing Senator DeLong will go and offer us again if he's re-elected will be just talking and talking and talking. And we have heard, we listen to people talk forever. Look, I'm a Liberian, I'm a very practical person. I have listened to too much talk. I'm not too much fascinated or interested in people that come and talk and talk. I'm interested in people that can do the work. I know Senator DeLong history. I know Senator DeLong just looking for the opportunity to be able to cater to his family. Nobody can convince me. If we live together, we work next door to each other. I know the guy we're discussing. So nobody can tell me this is a guy that so much loves the Liberian people and want to prioritize their interests. So if we go deep into this thing, I can tell you why I say that.
Thank you, Mr. Red.
A lot of records to reference.
Mr. Red, thank you. Maybe you want to save that ammunition when we get to Montserrado County Senate race so you can use them. Mr. Jack, go with your question for Steve. I got one tough one for Steve too.
Steve, when I ask you for the records that the CPP running on, you talk about accountability. What else? Because, and again, that is in reference to the function of a senator. So what other record can they run on besides, CDC want to do this and they say no? What else can they run on?
Well, I think one of the things that the CPP has been able to demonstrate to the Liberian people so far is not only the issue of accountability, but also to start to ensure transparency. So I give you a typical example. As of late, the CPP signed a document that each of the lawmakers, they came into agreement with them, each of the lawmakers would be held accountable as to vote or as to when things pass out in the House of Representatives or the Senate, they would vote in the interest of the Liberian people and not as how they have been voting in the past. So that's a good sign for us. That's a good sign for the Liberian people. So let's take, for example, if a money is allocated, let's say the stimulus package that just passed, if the stimulus package were to come back and all of these members of the CPP, those who serve in the legislature, sign that document or come into agreement with the CPP, guess what? If the CPP comes to say, hey, this thing is not working for the Liberian people, no lawmaker from the CPP would vote for that. So that's good. But another thing again also is to ensure transparency, because for some of us who want to support or who are willing to support members within the CPP, we have called for transparency and openness. And I think this is part of the reason you would see that maybe the issue within Nima County happened these few days. And I personally, I want to be clear on record here that I'm against the violence that happened. I think it was unacceptable. But at the same time, there has to be transparency. They have to follow the rules. And so I think in this context, the CPP is presenting hope to the Liberian people to some extent. Yes, there are some internal wrangling. And we hope that they will fix it as soon as possible. But it is important to restore hope as to what the CDC is projecting to do for the Liberian people.
So, Steve, do you trust the CPP signing anything? We saw things that they signed and they didn't really live up to it.
Well, the truth of the matter here is, I'm not sure what they signed and they didn't live up to, because this is where the noise has come from, and I have not been able to get as to where they've come from, the conclusion from the Nima County stuff, because there has been division within the CPP. As to one group is saying, no, we got to go for a rerun, and another group is saying, no, the result stands. But we are yet to hear an official statement as to where they are going from the CPP at large, even though there are some members within the CPP that have endorsed the result and some members have condemned it. So in a nutshell, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say we have some hope here. We have some realistic hope where we can start holding these people accountable. And good thing is, in the interest of transparency and accountability, we see now that everything is opening up. Everything is opening up. And I've always encouraged them. There should be no back talking. Everybody should make sure everything is on the table.
Thank you. William, you can come in.
Yes, thank you very much. Couple of things that I want to mention on the CDC side. The gentleman mentioned about the electricity, and it is correct that in terms of, maybe we can say revenue from electricity has indeed gone up 2 times in terms of what's going on with electricity. Does that mean access? Maybe that can be debatable, but from the Central Bank of Liberia, for example, in 2018, December 2018, electricity, we brought in $2 million, 2018. 2019, December, the revenue showed $2.8 million. So I think from there, from the CDC side, that is something that they can hold, that they've been strong on. On the question of road and so forth, one of the things that they would have to climb over or convince the public about was how they lost that $15 million matching from the MCC because they could not match the 15 million. So maybe that might be something that may be a little bit difficult, that people may hold it against them, but it has yet to be seen. From the other side of the house, for our CPP folks, something is very troubling was that they made an agreement that if they were into the House, that they will vote for laws that benefit the Liberian people. So does that imply that in the past, some of those candidates who were part of the group, they were not doing that? So that could be some kind of ammo that the CDC side could use against them, and that may weigh heavily, especially now with Darius Dillon being in there for almost a year. Maybe a little bit less. We're looking to see if there are any bills or anything that he's brought to the floor. So once again, that might be something that they may use as ammunition. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Willinkin there, trying to give a little bit of analysis there. Let me come to you, Steve. The CPP, I know you are not a member, but you're supporting their candidates. So the tough question is going to come your way, and if you can't answer them, you can say, hey, I'm taking them, or I'm not taking them. So here's my question. What we've seen on the opposition side is tell us things that we already know. You are saying that they are holding the government accountable. They're talking about Joe, we are wearing singers. And that's why they want to tell the Liberian people. How does that affect my grandmother's life in Grand Cru? Is that the accountability? They're telling us that, oh, Joe, we are wearing $12,000 shoes. They are telling us that Samuel Twes in a proposal with singers. Yeke Koluba gets up, he calls the journalist and he insults. Costa does the same thing. Is that the accountability that the Liberian people are going to rely on? So tell me what kind of accountability you are talking about here.
Thank you so much, Mr. CA. First of all, let me join you and the rest of the Liberian people to condemn any kind of insult, whether it's from the CPP or it's from the government. We should not be heading this down this line. I think it is not the right thing to do. I want to be clear on that. But here is the fact, though. You have members, supporters within the CPP who are saying where the president, I would never go by and talk about the president. That's not my interest. I don't have no interest in that. That's a waste of time. That's not an argument. My comment was in context and in relations to both the House of Representatives and the Senate. There are some members within the House of Representatives and the Senate that have been holding the government's feet to fire. And this is where I'm speaking. I'm not speaking about the ordinary people on a daily basis that support CPP, that is talking about the president's shoe and writing about the president's shoe. That's not a matter of discussion. But I am saying on national issues where they are holding the government accountable, I am saying on national issues where they are flagging some things. Let's take, for example, most recently, the Nemadiski issue. That was a big issue that members of the opposition that were divided at the time took sides with, some members took sides with the government. Some members even alluded, it is alleged that the government had bribed some of them, giving some of them brown envelopes. Yet and still, some members like Darius Delon and Yombli Kanga and other people stood on the other side and said, no. We will not allow this guy to go. We will not allow these things to go. So you see, these are some of the accountability we are talking about. I'm not talking about these petty politics that people talk every day and try to make noise of everything.
Okay, Steve, then let's go into the real deal. Let's go into the real deal, saying you don't want to talk about the petty sidewalk politics. Yeah, let's go into the real deal. Let's come to the issue of Cabinet Janet. At the time Cabinet Janet case was going through, you have a good number of CPP lawmakers who voted for Cabinet to be impeached. If they have stood their ground as CPP members, Cabinet Janet will still be on the job. Is that the accountability the Liberian people should vote them for?
But Mr. C, I will take you back a little bit though. Because before the Cabinet Janet issue, CPP was not established. You have political parties. CPP was not established. So
no, they were collaborating. The framework was not signed, but they were collaborating.
At that time, they had not signed an MOU. They had not signed an MOU to move together as a party. Remember, after the elections, everybody went on their own. As a matter of fact, the ANC was accused after the election of not supporting Mr. The Vice President.
I'll cut your slide there. Let me bring you to another point. In the CPP framework.
No. I need to clarify that. I need to clarify that for our audiences because we need to get the facts together here, all of us, so that we can move forward. The fact is, they were not moving together in unison at the time. And so we got to establish that fact. Now, let's fast forward as to come to where they started moving in unison. Yes, I will have to agree with you that yet and still there were still members of the CPP or the collaborating party at that time that were still in bed with the government, collecting bribes from the government. Some of them alluded to it and make it like it was a joke or fun. But this is to tell you the danger that CDC poses for the president or the executive to exert, to be infusing money as to make decisions that would avert the will of the people. This is the trouble we are faced with. And this is why we must elect serious-minded people who will hold this government accountable.
So talking about serious-minded people, I don't see how the opposition lawmakers, the CPP lawmakers are serious-minded people. Let me take you to the budget. They help to ratify the budget. Steve, you are not satisfied with the budget, but you are here trying to say that, yeah, the CPP people should be voted. Why? If you disagree with all they've done with the budget, that does not align with the needs of the Liberian people, why are you supporting people like that?
Great. And that's a good question. Because then that takes me back to the fact here when I said earlier on, I support some members within the CPP. I do not support certain members within the CPP. And I gave you a typical example.
Okay.
Prince Moi, I'm not going to support Prince Moi. I'm not going to support Prince Moi. I don't think he's lived up to the expectation. I don't think he's done the right thing. And that's why I cannot be a member of the CPP. Because you know what? We cannot say we want to stand for this fully, but yet and still we are infusing and bringing other people in there that will thwart the efforts. So I come back to say, if you were to bring someone like Darius Dillon, now let's come to the budget issue. The budget issue is a numerical thing. You cannot have all of them voting at the same time. There is a split. And this is why I think, and I said, the hope is there wherein they have signed this document now. And this document says they have come to this agreement where it says now that CPP now will vote together. And remember now, before this entire thing, you have to remember that. And I'm waiting to see how they will approach this new budget for 2020 and 2021 going forward. I'm waiting to see how they will vote on it and who will vote for what.
Thank you, Steve. We got.
For the sake of the audience, you mentioned Prince Yomi?
Moi.
Okay, we want to clarify because we don't want it to be confused with Prince Johnson because his name is
Prince Moi. Prince Moi from what you call it?
Bon County.
Bon County, sorry. Thank you.
All right,
bon
thank you. Again, folks, you are watching Focus on Liberia debate here at Focus on Liberia. Our debaters in this edition are Mr. Steve Bole and Mr. Macaulay Ure. Mr. Ure is a member of the CDC. For Steve Bole, he supports some of the candidates on the CPP side, and we are debating who's going to win in December. Stay with me here. Steve, on your last point there, the CPP people, I am not feeling them. All the CPP people made noise about the first lily being the budget, and yet these guys will allow the budget to pass. But let me turn it over to Mr. Jah. Mr. Jah seems to be hungry here. Go ahead, Mr. Jah.
Right, let's leave it at that. You can beat Steve up like that.
but Mr. C, to the point that we have to keep in context here that this whole thing about voting for a budget to pass is a numerical thing. And I said again that when the numbers are not on your side, there are few.
Steve, could you clarify when you keep saying it's a numerical thing? What do you mean in terms of the figures in the budget or those that are voting?
Those that are voting.
Yeah, so we
okay. So if CPP voted for the budget, I don't know still how will you carry on a numerical debate?
And
so Mr. Macaulay will get to you when the time comes for you to address me on this.
Okay.
But we get to each other.
And Steve, to clarify, members of the CPP have been collaborating even before the Cabinet Janet thing, even though the framework was not signed, but they have been collaborating almost like 2 years now.
Yeah.
But Mr. Jah, let's go back though. Let's go back. Let's be very honest.
Steve, let me fit there.
We can't leave it there. We can't leave it there. Let's go back.
They already had a gentleman agreement that they would not live up to, and they continue to give excuses over the time. Let me progress. You have opportunity to talk about that again, Steve.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know what Steve's going to say because these guys have been together. Okay, let's go to our next question. What will a CPP win mean? Let's start with Steve. If we go to the election now and CPP win, what does that mean? And the flip side, what will a CPP loss mean? But let's start with the win.
Well, I think a CPP win will first of all embolden the CPP, embolden the opposition, but it will also serve as a threat to the George Weah-led government now, the CDC. But I think a CPP win will send a strong signal that yes, we are ready for accountability. We are ready for transparency, and we are ready to hold the government feet to the fire. But on the other note, I think a CPP win also could alter the leadership in the Senate. Most definitely, it could alter the leadership in the Senate, which means the president and the executive will not have their will as they are having it now. So a CPP win in the Senate is critically important for check and balance as we see the country going forward.
And a CDC win?
A CDC win will be a total disaster and a total chaos. It will continue to be stealing, lying, excuses. Incompetence will rise up, and everybody will suck up to the president. And I honestly believe the Senate pro tem will continue to sing Muya Muya and jump around with all holding this president accountable and holding the executive accountable and serving as the check and balance. And I think this is where it is very crucial and critical and dangerously wrong for us not to vote for check and balance in the Senate.
let's go to Mr. Willer. What will a CDC win mean? And the flip side is a CDC loss or a CPP win.
Okay, so a win for CDC means a smoother continuation of efforts to take our people from the current situation of economic difficulties. We all, again, like I stated, I'm very aware, and the president has stated repeatedly also, we are all aware of the fact that our people are suffering. They are really suffering. And, you know, and when we look at the reasons why our people are suffering, most people, oh, because of George Weah, but I understand a lot of our people are not interested in delving into the foundation of why our people are suffering and how can we change the situation around. And I have transcended that whole issue of talking too much about, oh, the Unity Party did this and there's a reason why and stuff like that. I am more focused on how can the CDC change the situation around for our people. And that is where my priorities are. So based upon that, a win for the CDC means we will continue to increase access to electricity like we are seeing right now. Right now, I'm telling you, Mr. Jai, our people in Bombay, our people in Cape Town, they are so eager to start to see electricity. We'll continue as you speak, you know very well that we are going Buchanan to create an industrial zone in Grand Bassa County there, expanding the port operation of Grand Bassa County, providing more jobs opportunity for our people, skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled labor jobs. We are also trying hard in the agriculture sector. Mr. Jai, I was just talking to some of my colleagues from the revenue arm, and they were telling me that this year, despite the challenges and stuff like that, but even the end of the last year to this year, they have seen our people are no longer like before. They used to go and bring pepper and stuff from neighboring countries.
Yeah.
And people, we are not focusing all of these sectors. We don't talk about them much because all of us just here beating the government, which is good. I love that. I love that the government should be accountable to her.
Yeah, yeah.
So a
Mr.
CDC win means a smoother effort to improve our people's current situation. Or CPP win means
okay,
adding more noise makers.
Let me follow up and then I go to Steve too, because because one thing I want to still tell you is win or loss for the CPP or for the CDC should not impact those projects that you are talking about. So I don't want to say no. But here is my question to you: will a CDC loss mean that the people are rejecting President Weah, and that may have some implication for 2023?
Well, before I answer that, let me tell you why our CDC loss will have an impact. Let's take, for example,
I really am not concerned about the impact. I'm concerned about what message does it send? That
I will answer the message.
The CDC is failing in Montserrado, for instance.
It's one important thing that you said that I don't want to let go so our audience can be misled. You said that our loss for CDC should not affect our projects that we are deciding to carry on. I say you're wrong, because the truth is we got 30 senators, right? And we have 15 out for re-election right now. And one thing most people fail to realize, you're talking about holding, my brother talked about accountability. CDC is not even the one that got majority in the legislature. Our people fail to realize that. But if a CDC loss happens in December, what's going to happen is you're going to bring more people there that may just stall. For example, at the Senate, like he's rightfully, I agree with him. There is a chance that you could change the leadership of the Senate. Okay, if you change the leadership of the Senate, everything, every budget, every law, every project that goes through the legislature, it has to go through the lower house and the upper house. Or CDC laws could mean people could just be there stalling, carrying all kinds of unnecessary delay that will affect how speedily the projects across the country should go ahead. To answer your specific question, a lot for CDC could mean a lot of things. It could mean what you are alluding to. It could also mean that CDC candidates, because we should remember now that Liberian politics is not a formal political field. In Liberia, people vote on tribalism or religious reasons, a lot of different reasons. So, for example, if you carry a guy in a county or in a region that people in that believe, down there believe that, oh, the man myself, we're not from the same tribe, oh, not from this, not from that. that could affect how people vote for that candidate. Unlike when you talk about a national election where you voted for a president, it is a completely different ballgame. Somebody who could refuse to vote for Thomas Falak who want to vote for George Weah again, which is very common in our Liberian body politics. So it's kind of difficult to really look at and clearly state that a win or loss for this group means so and so thing for them because of the Liberian political scene.
Mr. Bole, will a CPP laws mean that the opposition is not a better alternative?
I wouldn't say so necessarily. Because the truth of the matter is, if you look at most recent history, and I've heard in the past as well, but most recent history, you will see that in the midterm elections, to some extent, it tends to reflect the general election. And that I would have to agree with you on to some extent. But I would also have to say, most times, the midterms elections as this always favors the opposition. I gave you most recent example when Senator George Weah ran against Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's son. You come to understand that hey, he won. Same thing with Sir Joseph, he won also. So, and they were in opposition at that time. So I'm saying that I'm not considering the opposition the option of the opposition losing this senatorial race. No, I'm not considering that option because I have all belief and trust in the Liberian people, like I said earlier, that they will vote for the opposition. And reason they will vote for the opposition, and that will give a green light for 2023 as to vote George Weah out, is because George Weah and the CDC-led government has failed the Liberian people.
Mr. C.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Mr. Ray. That's my follow-up question. Should the CDC be on the losing side? Will it mean that the CDC is losing popularity? That's one. Two, will it also mean that the CDC is not delivering the goods and that it has let the Liberian people down? That will be the reasons why, in your opinion?
So, like I stated initially, that look at again the history of the Liberian people voting. The United Party, prior to the 2011 elections, there were a lot of by-elections held in the country, right? And if we're using those by-elections as a yardstick for what was going to happen in 2011, then pundits, political scientists were going to, all of our political pundits were going to say, oh no, Ellen will never have a second term. The truth is, we went to that election, we saw what happened to Clemency Euro in 2009 versus Geraldine Doe Sherry, the late senator. We saw what happened in River G County with Communist Wisa and the late Senator Nathaniel Willing. We saw what happened in Nima County we saw what happened across the country, right? Okay, so again, it brings me back to the fact that the Liberian political landscape is very complex, it's very difficult. And I went across that country in several of those by-elections. For example, there was a representative by-election in Roger County that we were feeding a CDC guy called Philbert Toole. Philbert Toole was contesting River G. And we went there. The guy that won, I'm forgetting the name, Barkley, I think Barkley or so. He from somewhere in, it's a Fishtown or Kaloke, one of the towns he's from. That guy, nobody saw him coming. We were more focused on other people that were coming from different areas. But including the former professional soccer player of Danisha Sengwe Borchai, he came from the Kawikan belt. He got a lot of votes that could have allowed him to become the representative down there because what are his tribal group. So it is difficult to really analyze our Liberian political landscape based on how people win or how they lose an elections, because our people, they get from tribe to religion to class, different reasons why they support people. Okay, so it's difficult. But what I can say
Mr.
is
Red,
what I know for a fact is
hold on, Mr.
CDC.
Red, 30 seconds left, and I want you to conclude with this. Now, when the CDC was winning, it was that the CDC was martyr. and was loved by the people. But now you are trying to insinuate here that should the CDC lose, it will not be because the opposition or the CPP, is mounting or is getting popular. So, I mean, you are confusing me here. Please clarify that.
So no, don't be confused. Again, I love statistics. Let's go back to the numbers, right?
No,
And people always get it wrong.
Ray,
Doing
when do the Liberian people vote on tribal lines, and when do they vote because they love the candidate or because the candidate is popular? That's where Mr. C is getting confused.
Right.
Yes, and I understand his confusion, and myself sometimes I get very confused because let's go back again to the statistics. CDC in 2005, CDC won about pretty close to 40% of the votes, right? But CDC, most people don't know, yeah, people can be falsely claiming that CDC had majority at the legislature, which is false. But CDC had what? Less than 15%, yeah, I think less than 15 or 16% of the lawmakers at the legislature, despite winning in the popular, the general election, despite winning almost 40% of the votes. So you see where I'm coming from. So it's kind of hard for me to sit there and say, oh, CDC is martyr because she win this by-election, or CDC is not martyr because she lost the by-election. It's kind of a difficult because of the statistics and the history that are available. So George Weah has been a CDC brand. People love George Weah for different reasons. Some love him because he was celebrated. Some love him because of how he affected their lives individually. What he did for all of the reasons.
Thank you, Mr.
So, but when we go to the elections, the candidates that we see, the love that people have for them in different sectors of our country is kind of a different.
Thank you.
And the statistics support that.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Mr. Bullet. Mr. Bullet, let's use the CDC victories over the years as a yardstick to see where the CDC, I mean the CPP fit here in terms of political victory. The CDC, when the CDC, was in opposition, the gravitating force for their voters was this George Weah and the party. When it comes to the CPP, who are the individuals that are bringing the number for them, and what is that institution or institution that will be bringing the numbers for them to prepare them to victory? The United Party or who?
That's a question that I've not heard many people ask, because sometimes we don't pay attention to these things.
Oh yeah, I do here. We have Focus on Liberia, we do. Go ahead.
Yes, I've really never had a lot of people ask that question. But one thing I've noticed about the Liberian politics and the Liberian people is, and as my colleague just alluded to, it seemed more like the Liberian people are attracted to people.
That's why I asked the question.
And so I will say this to you here today. Tyrus Dillon and Yeke Koluba will be the pivoting. Here is it. Will be the pivoting forces and hate or like Henry Costa to purport more people to the CPP. Let me tell you why. We have different groups of people. Like we say here today, we have different groups of people that vote on different grounds. So one of the typical examples I give you is this. Yeke Koluba appeals to a certain group of people. Dillon appeals to a certain group of people, while Costa appeals also to a certain group of people. Now, these are three different forces as compared to the CDC. George Weah appeals to the people, but George Weah has lost popularity over the past 3 years. He has lost popularity to people. People are disenchanted. People have lost confidence in him because of the way the country is going and the expectation in him. So I say, if you look now, with everything that people have said about Yeke Koluba or this or that, when Yeke Koluba gets somewhere without money, without influencing the people, without lying to them, or without tricking them, or without distributing money or whatever it is, guess what? The common people come out and follow him. Same thing with Dillon. And you see, these are things that we need to pay attention to. So I'm saying here today on Focus on Liberia that the paradigm is shifting, whether we like it or not. CDC is still in a delusional place where they think that George Weah still commands that thing of putting people hand up and people vote for him. It is not happening again.
And Steve, you have 30 seconds left. What's about Waka? What's about Cummings? Are these individuals minded enough to bring some numbers to the CPP? And
most definitely they could. But I'm saying to you, the voting population of Liberia now is majority the young people. So the young people will gravitate mostly to their own people, to their own kind. So in other words, the politics in Liberia is changing. One of the reasons George Weah was giving the chance was because, truth of the matter, Liberian people were sick and tired of all politicians. And so they wanted to change that era to some extent. So they gave a young man opportunity in order to provide opportunity for young people as well. But this young man has failed the people. So you see the young people now are gravitating more towards younger people. This is not to say Ambassador Joseph Boakai still does not have some kind of influence or so forth, but it has not been reflected numerically to some extent. And I want to be fair on that other part.
You are shying away from mentioning Cummings and his potential politically. You want to do that so we can go to our next question?
Well, when it comes to Cummings, this is one of the things the Liberian people have said. He is new to the Liberian body politics. I agree. Now, in the light of Cummings, one of the things I would say here today, it is his responsibility to connect with the Liberian people. It is his responsibility to do everything he can to make sure that the Liberian people see him as a politician. The Liberian people have not, and I'm saying it again, they have not seen him as a politician as of yet. He has done some good things. He continues to do some good things, but they have not. And that is just typically how we are as Liberians.
Thank you. I will bring my man William Bernard King in. Mr. King, your turn.
Yeah. Well, I've been listening to this debate. And
hello.
Hold on, Macaulay. Go ahead, William. Hold on, Macaulay.
Okay. I've been listening to this debate, and let me just say this: that the CDCians, they are very popular with the youth, and man, they have a lot of numbers. And I'm not sure if in the past 18 months, 19 months will be enough to sway the amount of numbers to turn that Senate around, because they have a lot of numbers in the youth. So that is an uphill battle that's going to be coming on, especially with some of the things that they've been progressing on, albeit they did present a little bit of a challenge here for a little bit with this whole $16 billion fiasco thing that's kind of being used. And that is a political weapon that we can't deny that it might be used to sway some folks towards the CPP. So that's something that we need to look out for. But the numbers, Bone County, Montserrado County, I mean, that's a heavy CDCian area. So we're going to be looking to see how, you're going to move some of those votes. Very difficult.
And William, what's your source for those numbers?
Thank you very much. I looked at the National Election Commission.
The numbers were there when Dillon beat the CDC miserably in Montserrado County. Those very youth were there. So I don't know where you're coming from with the numbers.
You were talking about the 2017 elections.
I'm talking about the 2017 election, because don't forget,
those numbers disappear and Dillon beat them. So why are you still counting those numbers?
Okay, that's all we wanted to know.
Let me progress. All right, Macaulay, come in. Your rebuttal to Steve, please. You have 2 minutes.
Yes. So you see, Steve, I don't know. I don't want to claim to be.
We can hear you.
Mr. Ware, you are low. May adjustment at your end. If you're, you are very low. May adjustment at your end.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is our FOL debate. We have the CPP versus the CDC. Our guest, Mr. Steve Bolle, arguing in favor of the CPP, and Mr. Macaulay Ware, who is representing the CDC.
Mr. Ware,
elections 2020, who's going to win? And where the tie? Who's going to be doing the happy dance in December? Mr. Ware, go ahead again. No,
Mr. Brad, disconnect your Bluetooth. If the one you're using, we can't get you at all. And then make sure you increase your device volume at your end. Again, folks, focus on Liberia debate here. And then we are looking at the Senatorial.
You hear me now?
Very loud and clear. Go for it, your rebuttal to Steve Bolle.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So my brother Steve, like I was saying, I'm not a political scientist, but there are a lot of political scientists out there, and they can do their analysis for themselves. The truth is, you said Joshua is losing popularity. It's kind of hard for me to objectively say that is true or not, because of a lot of reasons. For example, Joshua won his own elections. And if you are following, I know Again, I continue to emphasize, because sometimes when we hear talking about some of these things, I see people try to be derogatory and they don't understand that we know that people are suffering in our country. I am fully aware, and there's no Liberian anywhere on earth which tell me that they are not aware that our people are suffering. I know for a fact that our people are suffering, and we should all work collectively and seriously hard to make sure we change the current economic situation our people find themselves in. But to go to the issue, but that does not mean a lot of good things are not happening. Then look at what is happening in Liberia, my brother Steve. If you go to Liberia today, despite the hardship, I've talked to people who initially did not support the CDC. And when I asked them, some of my friends, because for me, I love hearing from all sides, including people that oppose me. So I asked some of them, how do you assess the situation today? And some of them quietly telling me that, look, right now, to be honest, despite the challenges the country faces with, I have electricity for the first time since 1990 days, it called different years. First time I have electricity, I have paved roads. Okay, so you are telling me that all of these people across Liberia, Nimba County, or the second most populous county in Liberia, those people they see their situation is being transformed by roads and electricity. Lofa County, I don't know if you are also following today, like the United Party has so much influence in Lofa, because initially, when they were the ruling party, they had Joseph Bassa, Augustine Gafwan, Brani Samuka, all of those guys that have political and financial power was coming from Lofa. But today, you saw the program that the Lofa people held with Molude and all these other people. Today, the power, the mover and shakers of things in Liberia today that are from Lofa, they are from the CDC too. We got the guys like Sir Joseph, Molude, who they're not representing, but they all here from that area. So the dynamics are changing across the country. So if you only look and sit down and fantasize and watch Facebook, all these Facebook politicians, the realities will be different when the time comes. Because our people in Bon County, in Bapolu County, Bapolu City, the streets they are about to be paved. The people in Rappersburg, the road is about to be paved. They're about to have electricity over the next 2 years. And those are things, if you tell me these people, they see they have roads, they have electricity, they see at least, those are two things that will also spur economic, they will have a positive effect on economic growth and stuff like that. Are you telling me that those things will still make George Weah unpopular? That's not true. Then you might be making.
Why, if the people are hungry, you think they're going to celebrate the roads when they are hungry? And the electricity you talk about is not free.
That's a separate debate, but just to throw a gist on it, the truth is, there's the road there. If you get CDC 10 years, or you get anybody 10 years, they're not going to eliminate hunger from Liberia. People will still be hungry, but what the roads are going to do, the roads are going to make people movement of goods and services, going to make it easier. Liberia will lose almost 20% of our consumable product because of the lack of electricity. I think either 20 or 30 if my statistics is correct. With electricity, that number is going to significantly reduce. People, small businesses are going to be more sustainable because of all of these different projects and initiatives. So the truth is, people will be affected positively for these projects.
Thank you, Mr.
It might be slow. It is slow. I want it to be faster, but the realities remain. They are going to be affected positively, and it's going to impact the way they see things.
Thank you, Mr. Red.
2023.
Mr. Willett, thank you. Dennis, Mr. Willett just said that, you give anybody 10 years, they will not eliminate hunger. I think when we give you 10 years, you can do it. Don't you think so? All right, Mr. Jai is shying away from the question.
No, what happened is people are, and what Mr. Willett is giving credence to is, we always use the power of the presidency, right? We employ people, so these people are working, and we use that leverage to sway the people politically.
Okay.
So when the Bwaka was in power, it was Samuka, it was all those. So they were the one using the power of their salary that we paid them, and the money, and that's why Lofa was for them. But this time, CDC people are in power, and CDC people are using the same money to sway Lofans on their side. I don't think our politics should be that way.
And that is the unfortunate thing about politics. Mr. Steve Bolin, I'll come back to you. Your rebuttal to all that Mr. Willett just said.
Well, let me say this. In and this is no offense to anybody, but I think we have to be realistically real about things. Let me say this: on the chart of Maslow hierarchy of needs, electricity is not the most important thing in people's life. Road is not the most important in people's life. And that's why I think, and I feel George Weah has lost popularity. If George Weah has to be in bed, if George Weah and other people have to go against their will today to be distributing money around in public, going against next rule, having the finance minister jumping around, making all kinds of statements that could be considered national threat. If they can do that today, my brother, I can tell you guys here, they have lost popularity. Seditions, a couple of years ago, printed shirts. Nobody asked them. They walk miles to support George Weah. When you call for the most recent part, last year, when there was no coronavirus, when you call for the July 26th, what happened? The stadium was empty. My brother, we need to wake up. And the reality here is, George Weah has not been able to meet the basic needs of the people. Whether you like it or not, it's a fact that exists. The country is in chaos. Whether you like it or not, it's a fact that exists. Our women, our children has been raped. The level of rape has increased in the country. Whether you like it or not, these are social issues. The economy has not even been settled yet. Every other budget that has been passed, there has been deficit. Every budget that has been passed, there has been deficit. You want to tell me the Liberian people are happy? You want to tell me George Weah is still popular?
Why are you voting? Somebody will say, why are you voting George Weah 2020? This is not 2023 election. This is the senators.
No, what I'm saying is this, because these things.
Right
What
now?
I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the topic is kind of
no, Mr. King.
No, stop criticizing the topic. Stop that.
When Mr. Willer was responding to the issue and speaking from a utopian point of view, where they believe the reality is not reality, they want to impose reality on people. Nobody stopped him, nobody interjected. So I think I should make the case as well.
Yeah,
I think we should do this mutually.
protected.
Great. So all I'm saying is this though. These are factors that can increase people's likability. Somebody can like you from the beginning, but if you are not living up to standard and holding some of these values and not meeting the basic needs, you think they will like you? The Liberian people want to eat. The Liberian people want to have job. Your promise the people job. You can provide a job. You're making excuses. Even seditions are disenchanted within the party. So what are you trying to say? This is why you will have, if the president was still popular and CDC was still popular to the Liberian people, why do you have 4 or 5 different candidates within CDC that support CDC running in the same county? Why do you have that? So this thing shows that the president is no longer popular and the party is no longer popular, in my honest view.
Thank you, Mr. Steve Bullet, right there. Dennis, let's move to the final segment of this debate. And that will be the race in Bassa County and the race in Montserrado County. We will discuss those 2 races as our key study in projecting what may be the outcome of 2023. This is Focus on Liberia. My name is Anthony Sie, hosting along with Mr. Dennis Jah and Mr. William Thomas Bernard King. And this is the FOL debate, that is Focus on Liberia debate. If you have not shared the show, please do, because our debaters here are strategic, they are intellectual, and they are analytical. Let's get started, gentlemen. The race in Montserrado County is the biggest of all. Some people think it's the determinant for 2023. Mr. Jah may still be thinking about it, but I know that to be a fact. Whoever wins Montserrado, that person will be dancing that victory lap, and that is my political prediction. But Mr. Ray is telling me, see, don't behave like this is 2016. You said that about Hillary Clinton. You know where she is. Mr. Ray, let's come to you, my dear brother. The law on the light is running. Hold on, Mr. Ray. The law on the light is running. And we have Falad. Some people call him T5, and some people call him T5. I don't know where they're going with that. But the question is,
you refer to the law as a light or that in quotation? I want to get that clarity first.
I knew my colleague was going to get you there, so I wanted to tell you before he comes.
All right, let me end. Some people call him the light, and some people call him the Chinese light.
Yeah, is it in quotation?
Well, listen to my statement. Some people call him the light, and some people call him Chinese light. But when it comes to Fala, some people call him T, the letter T5, and some people call him T5. Who will win, Macaulay? Tell us, and why?
Okay, quickly, my brother made reference to Maslow pyramid and stuff like that, which is strictly in psychology. But I know you're trying to draw a line with economics. But if you go to Maslow, you want to draw a line of economics, then you will find rows. Maybe you might not see it spelled out as ROAD, but when you go to that pyramid of creativity, all of those things, you understand why it's a part of it. But to go to your question, look. Like I was about to, I said initially, but then you said I should hold on. Let's look at a senator. Why should I, as a resident of Montserrado County, since we have narrowed to Montserrado and Grand Bassa, vote Darius DeLong versus Thomas Fala? Lawmakers are there to make laws, provide oversight and representation, right? All of those three things, I will be looking for who can ably represent me in all of them, who can ably execute them on my behalf as a citizen of Montserrado County. What do I mean? For example, I'm a resident. If I'm in Liberia, I'm a resident of Keba in Bannersville. This is a community, and I'm bringing this, my personal experience and logic, to why I would support Thomas Fala versus DeLong. We as residents of Keba, we were there. We've been struggling to the extent that they were carrying on, they were electrifying homes, electrical wire passed over our homes, and all we could not benefit. When people reached out to the senator, Senator DeLong excuse was, it's not his responsibility. So people were like, I think there's a famous tape of him going around, or where he talked to another woman who was intervening, or somebody who was got burned. I don't know if you saw that tape too. He said, that's not his responsibility. We said, they may not have responsibility. I thought they may sort of provide oversight and representation and lawmaking. And part of that oversight, this should fall under the oversight. And or even representation. The people, when they call Senator Sir Joseph. Senator Sir Joseph came to the community. You can go there and ask what I tell you. Senator Sir Joseph came to the community and he told the people, okay, y'all know what happened. I will use my influence as senator to ensure that all of you, all the houses that were not connected here will be connected. And immediately left a note, I will speak to this here, the people now. One of the guys said was just on the line here, he posted that we're getting a regular electricity in Kebana. Because of his influence as senator, he used that influence and what? Those people who were connected.
As representative, not senator.
No, as senator. I talk about Sir Joseph now. I'm using as an example. Sorry. So we need somebody that will be able to do that. The law have already established to the people of Montserrado County that those kinds of things are not his responsibility, because maybe he does not even know that it falls on his responsibility. So Thomas Fala has a representative. We have seen him use the influence for his people in his district. So now the law is not like before. You see, in politics, I tell people, running as an incumbent is different from running as somebody who was never there before. They don't never senator. So anything you say, people say, oh yeah, but now he has served. People know they have experience and they know that he failed to represent it. All people know they want to do when you talk to be Montserrado County. When I talk to them, they say, oh, that man, but I hold it, I plenty talking. Yes, you might say, oh yeah, you're talking on a behalf, but after the talk, you got to be able to influence your colleagues to affect the life of your constituents. That's why people vote. That's why I was talking about the whole logic behind when I was telling you about the selfishness about voting for lawmakers. The nation is a nation as a whole. But when we're about to divide our whole, then it becomes selfishness. Then as a resident of Montserrado County, we want to get more of that whole. And we can only get more of that whole if we have an influential and well-connected lawmaker to do that for us, which of course is not a debate that that they don't like those two things.
Thank you. That was his opening statement on who will win Montserrado County, talking about Thomas Fala and Darius DeLong. Mr. Steve Bullet, where you think the race in Montserrado County will go? The weight of DeLong or the weight of T5?
Your volume.
You are muted, Steve. Please unmute yourself and go for it.
I want to say here today that I strongly believe the Liberian people, like I said earlier, will vote for Darius Dillon, regardless of the manipulations, the influences, the financial gang story that is going on. Let me use that word, and also the splashing of money, which is I honestly, in my honest view, I think both I will honestly suggest that the Minister of Finance, Sir Joseph and Thomas Fala be investigated, because this is wrong precedent. But let's leave that for another time, because I think they're setting a very bad precedent for our country. But I think Dillon will win. Let me tell you why I think Dillon will win. You see, when you continue to lie to the people and you come to them last minute of time, sometimes the people tend to wake up and rise up, and we see this in different forms of life in different places, and so I believe Dillon has come with an open heart, and so far, in all honesty, he has been able to live up with the promises that he had provided to the people for the past few months that he's been elected. And one of the most important things that's disturbing to CDC, for which they want to disrupt his re-election, is the fact that he said he was going to be a disruptor in the Senate, and they always refer to that. And I like the fact that he's a disruptor, because let me say this: if I were a seditious, if I were with the CDC, I would recommend that Dillon stay, because somebody will be there to hold us accountable. It is okay to have check and balance. That is what the Senate is there for. You can't just have everybody sing one song and everybody go home at the same time. It's not good for democracy. It's not good for our country. Let's have different views. Let's have people that will oppose and say, hey, this thing here we don't think is right. Let's bring it to the public. Let the public know what's going on. This is what they don't want. They want to be passing brown envelopes, and other people shouldn't say nothing about it. They want when it comes from the executive, automatically it should hold, regardless whether it's in the interest of the people or not. So this is why I believe the people will vote for Dillon, because you know what? We, the people, we want to hear what's happening there. We want to know what's happening there. And we also want to be aware of who's voting in our interest and what is it they're voting about. I think this is a good time for the Liberian people to vote for Dillon and vote for Yombly and vote for other people who are in the CPP that are not falling in line with this whole executive agenda that would not benefit the Liberian people.
All right. Mr. Steve Bullet there giving his opening position why he thinks Yombly and Darius Dillon will win in Montserrado County and Grand Bassa County, whereas my colleague is saying Western Garfin is going to nail it and Thomas Fala will nail it. Mr. Ray, what is your counter or rebuttal to Steve?
Two questions here, and he can put that question in his counter.
Okay.
Because I think we've gone over an hour, 30 minutes, so we're trying to move a little bit faster.
Right.
Let me start with Steve. Steve, Dillon's pride himself or his being star has the light. He called himself the Chichipole of the Senate and the disruptor in chief. How is that going to bring home the bacon for the people of Montserrado?
Well, and this is Mr. Ja, I like this question, because this is the playbook that the people who you see with the CDC have always said we should be able to lobby and do well. So now the question that comes in is lobbying whose interest? Lobbying about what? Lobbying about what? And whose interest? So I believe this is what we need. You see, this is part of transparency and accountability. Mr. Ja, you cannot have any government without people holding them accountable, where everybody will just fall in line and we can see the reflection of those things that they vote on impacting the life of the people. You tell me over 3 years, or maybe close to the end of 3 years that this government has been in power. Most recently, the stimulus package, how did it benefit our people? How did it benefit our people? I can attest that I got the backlash of it, and I got the reciprocal of it, because you know what? People in this time of pandemic, where they were home, guess what happened? They did not get the food, so they had to be calling some of us almost every day It became a burden for some of us in this country. You think had the stimulus package that they voted on, where everybody just fell in line, had the people benefited, that would have reduced some of the economic problems for us too. And our people would have been excited. So I am saying, I agree that Delon should stay there. I agree that somebody should be there to be able to say the things that are going on in there. And let's not continue with this. Everybody say one, everybody just fall in line. It is not good for our democracy. It is wrong. I am not saying that he should come there and oppose things that will be in the benefit of the people. No. If he would do that, then that's wrong. But if he will expose what is not in the benefit of the people, and if he will refuse to support what is not in the benefit of the people, regardless of where it comes from, then let him be there. There is nothing wrong.
Thank you. Mr. Woolen.
Yeah.
I was very close to Representative Slaw, and the problem there was if the speaker doesn't like you, you can't even get anything on the floor. So I pray thee tell me, if we have all CDC people voting, the Fala and everybody going into the Senate, and it becomes like no opposition, it has just become so say one, so say all. How is that good for our democracy? Wouldn't a voice like Delon be something that would strengthen the democracy instead of, whatever is put on the table for the pro tempore, because it's a CDC person, it goes because everybody falls in line? Isn't that bad for our democracy? Why was a young man like you not even canvassed to have an opposition voice in the Senate for transparency, for accountability, and for holding these people accountable?
Well, like I said initially, Mr. Ja, I probably you guys heard me, but I said CDC, as we speak, CDC does not have majority in the Senate, so it means we got opposition there. Okay, but you see, people think the thing lousiness is different from achieving something. Mr. Ja, look, Delon's style of politics is good for human rights advocates. And people who are not even in government, people who are just in it. I'm not against that. I love it. Like I said, even myself, my personal life, ask people that know
you
that
have
my
anything
friends
against human rights advocates? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying they're the one because they always try to make those loud noise for the right reason, which is not bad. So, but when you enter government now, it's not just about making loud noise. It's about, even if you're making those noise, you should be able to make those noise and also be able to advocate for your constituents so they can benefit, so they can have more advantage in the debate. For example, I give you my brother Steve, I don't know if you're following. The whole thing about lawmakers or representation is about influence and advocacy for your people. For example, let's look at Staten Island, the representative that pulled that stuff there for the Liberian people right out on DED. He knew that the people in a constituent went to him and they said, oh, they needed this. He went back. He used the influence and put that thing in a defense bill. Because why? He had influence. He was, I think, the chairman on that committee or one of the chairpersons. So the long case is just about, a Cheche Pole. Yeah, not bad. Bring a Cheche Pole on, but you bring a Cheche Pole also as a resident of Montserrado County. I am telling you now, I'm not looking at you now just from a Cheche Pole perspective. I gave you a very logical example of our people in Quebec. And it's several places across. And somebody has seen type on here and say, is it a responsibility? Yes. When you give somebody such authority, you give it to them also for them to make law according to the Constitution, representation, and oversight. So yes, that falls on a responsibility. If your people lack
Mr. Red, my question,
you should be able to use your influence to make sure they have those social services.
Yeah, you're talking about this influence. I'm talking about a dissenting voice in the Senate, and Delon is one of them. Don't you want that?
There are a lot of dissenting voices in the Senate. We got, how you call this guy? Ahmed Jala there. We got a lot of dissenting voices in the Senate. It's just that they don't carry it. They understand, they have experience. They have better experience than Senator Delon. So they know how to go about a dissent. They go to the facts, they address the facts, and then they come and see how best they can affect. But Delon, he lives, his whole political strategy is to be on Facebook, be from one radio station to another radio station, and on all the talk shows and projecting himself to be what? I know Japanese light or which kind of light or Chinese light or what kind of flower. I don't know which kind of light it is. So that's the thing.
Okay.
So
your time is up.
Again, CDC does not control majority. Let people go there and look at it and see the numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Red. Folks, this is Focus on Liberia. This is the debate you have been waiting for, and we are at it. Let me ask Mr. Red a question too. Look, Mr. McCullough, the CDC strategy for winning seems to be a little more unorthodox. You may disagree. And this is why I say that. We have the finance minister on record buying opposition supporters over. CDC did not do that when CDC had now President we are on the ticket. CDC did not do that when they had the late Jerry Doe Sharif on the ticket. They didn't do that when they even had Sir Joseph on the ticket. I don't remember CDC even doing that when they had Paulita Weir. The people in the CDC thinking that maybe they didn't do that for Paulita, that's why she got whooped. And now they are in power, they have the money. Even though the voters are hungry, they will dish out the monies to voices in the opposition, and then they will get the victory. Is this the best strategy for the CDC? That's my question.
Well, the first thing, your accusation, I'm not a witness to your accusation, and I can't substantiate it right now, so I'm not going to really address your accusation. And, but what I know is the reason why CDC lost the elections, from my own analysis and speaking from my perspective of somebody who is experienced with the Liberian politics, I managed, in fact, specifically Montserrado County, I managed 2 elections in Montserrado County that produced Senator Geraldine Doe Sharif, 2009 and 2011. I managed her campaign, and she won twice. So I'm not speaking as a novice in this field. I am telling you here, my dear brothers here, CDC lost that election. One of the major contributing factors was the government inability at the time to pay public servants. And the public servants, especially in your county, the Montserrado County, which of course mostly across Liberia, since it's almost like we don't really have a private sector, they control so much, they influence so much. So failure to pay them in for especially a festive season like the July 26th, and expecting them to go and vote your candidate, it was just not realistic. So that was one of the major contributing factors from my own analysis that allowed CDC to lose. The dynamics have changed. Okay, Thomas Fowler again.
Mr. Real, let me interject this. Say you want to make it with salary payment not being current at the time, being one of the reasons. Day before yesterday, I saw people at the Temple Adjusted. They were protesting, and in fact, they said the government owed them 10 months arrear. And many other institutions, we heard about the contact tracers had to protest before they were even paid. So the salary thing is still around.
Yes, I agree with you. There is some outspring of salary issue, but holistically, at the time the time I was referencing was the time where the government as a whole were having that issue. Now there are issues which there are people. Some of the issues, some of the claims are technical. They have legal technicalities from what I'm being told. Again, let me make that very clear, because some of those people promising them, putting them on payroll without them going through the formal process or processes. So then they're there. 1 month you take pay, 2 months you take pay, and then the person you still going through that way, having expectation. Then after 10 months, like you said, 10 months, and before you say you're going to protest. So a lot of people are going, they're allowing people to build expectation that they're working, they will push them through and over a period of time. I got some relatives that even been affected from those things. And when they talk to me, I said, look, the truth is, you're not on payroll. You're not hired properly. To get hired properly, you got to go through the formal civil service process. After all of the processes, before you can make such claim and be legitimate. But so those are some of the factors. But when it comes to holistically, the people that are receiving their pay, in some cases, they are even being paid ahead of time. I know like teachers, healthcare workers, the last time they paid them ahead of time, or last salary period. So things are changing, they are getting better. And all of those things are happening during a very challenging and difficult period when we have the COVID-19 negatively affecting economic progress globally.
Thank you, Mr. Ura. I will come back to you, but let me go to Steve and let me alert you. I will be coming back to you on Chairman Molu's press conference in which he called for the some officials in the CDC to be investigated. Start to think about that and get prepared because that billboard I'm bringing for you, it will be very bitter. Let me come to you, Steve. The CPP, some people believe not doing a good job other than just making noise. Some people believe that because of the noise around protests all the time, helped DeLon to get elected. And so the CPP mondo operandi have been made noise, call for protests, and then the Liberian people will feel that you are on your side. What I don't see the CPP doing is providing substantive options in terms of budget, how they would do it differently, even the rape thing, how they would do it differently, other than just injecting themselves into the politics of it. So what are the real alternatives that the CPP is offering that will project their candidates to be the hope to the Liberian people, other than just making noise?
Thank you so much. The term "making noise" it's a little thrown off, but there are some good noise people can make, and so I want to stick with the good noise that they are making.
Okay.
One of the good noise that they've made, is to, again, I go back, is to ensure that this government is paying their dues. That's one of the good noise they've been making. Part of the CDC, part of the CPP strategies, which I will agree with you. I have said this over and over, and I'm on record that the CPP must invest in the PR as to start projecting their message now. You see, what I don't believe in, what I don't believe in is not being able to let people know your roadmap, what you want to do or what you are going to do for them. So I agree with you that the CPP has not been able to project that, to the public, or to some extent made it known generally so everybody can know, okay, these are our alternatives. I think that's where they need to go. And this is one of my concerns with the CPP as well. But I want to agree also that it is part of opposition's job to hold the government feet to fire, whether you call it noise, whether you call it however you want to call it. The truth of the matter here is it was not protest that brought Darrell Dillon to the Senate. No, it was not protest that brought Darrell Dillon to the Senate. If it were protest, then my brother Macaulay would not be saying what he just said, that the CDC could not afford to pay people. And the CDC continues to not afford to pay people until they have extended it internationally to AOU. They have not been able to afford to pay the bills. That is something that is going to be with the CDC forever, because they have not been able to manage a country responsibly. They did it home. They extended it abroad, and they will continue to do that. I want a different case. But there is an important thing that we need to focus on. The CPP needs to start now, like you said. And again, I will have to agree with you. The CPP need to start now promoting their agenda as alternative to what the CDC has been doing. And I will not say it's the CPP that have been behind all the noise in the country or so forth. No, it was not the CPP that were tempo adjusted. The CPP were tempo adjusted. No, it was the CPP that wrote these few days for the healthcare worker and say the government have not been able to meet up with the agreement to pay them. No, it was not the CPP. So let's be honest with this conversation here. Yes, the CPP has some lapses and deficiencies. Yes, I agree that they need to work on it. But the truth of the matter is this present government creates no hope as they promise. They have nothing to offer the people except for not paying bills and making our country to appear irresponsible. And that's where some of our issues with the government, until they can start making our country and restore some sense of responsibility to us.
So follow up, Steve. God forbid, I'm not wishing that, if the CPP should not claim that Montserrado, that means that the CPP is as weak as anybody can imagine. Would that mean that?
No, I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so.
All right.
And the reason I wouldn't.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's understandable. Let's move to Grand Bassa, where Yombly Kanka Lawrence is going against, even though there are other candidates, we are just using the two, is going against Wezoga Finlay. Steve, you be the first. Go for it.
Well, Mr. Ja, I think Yombly will win. And the reason I'm saying Yombly will win is because for the past 9 years or so, first of all, she has been with her people. Not only that, she has proven to some extent to live up to the challenges and do things for her people. But where I think Bezonga will not win is because, mind you, Bezonga was pro-tem and he got beat. He got beat. Besonga comes to the executive branch of government and served as foreign minister for almost 2.5 years or 3 years or so forth, or a little more or a little less. Besonga has nothing to show off for. So he's been gone from the county for that long. And truly speaking, he has a disconnect from the county. I believe he has a total disconnect from the county. Whatever they are doing now is just to either do this cash violence things I've talked about, which I think is not right, it's not good, it's very wrong. But I think the people will vote back for Yombly. And I should also say this too to my brother Mr. Bakale, that we need females in our Senate. So Yombly should stay in the Senate, not only because I'm not playing the gender card here, but I think it reflects balance in gender to some extent. And this is why I think she will win him. There's a disconnect. He's been disconnected from his people. He has not done anything for his people so far since he's been on a national level. Since he's been foreign minister, what has Besonga done? What are his records? What has he done apart from kissing up to George Weah? He has done nothing else for the Liberian people to benefit of on the international scene. So I see no reason he should even be involved with politics. I will call on him to go and sit down. The small money he got, he can invest it in a farm or something and do something with life. But he should leave politics. He shouldn't even be around anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Woolen.
Yeah, so to answer the issue of Grand Bassa, the first thing, my brother keep bringing it on the national level, and and stuff like that. And I don't know if
Let's talk about Besonga. Why you think he will win?
Okay. Yeah, but I would still like to chip that in later. The truth is, Besonga Finley, if you listen to my dear brother Steve Bullet, his statements were mostly about Besonga Finley's performance as foreign minister, what has he done for Liberia and this and that and stuff like that. That's a separate debate. The truth remains, if you having the voters down there, you have to look at this discussion from the lenses of the people there on the ground, the actual voters. I've been talking to a lot of people for Grand Bassa. I got some of my friends that work at the port in Buchanan. I got my friend who is the current superintendent of Grand Bassa County. We try to chip in with one another occasionally, Superintendent Janje Vakwe. And I got a lot of people that my other friend was the county attorney there. So I always ask them I like to gauge people's opinion on all the things affecting our country. And what they would tell me is, maybe Steve is not aware, is that Besonga is heavily vested or is investing heavily in the agriculture of Grand Bassa County, which is positively impacting a lot of people in the rural part of Grand Bassa. And more besides, he's one of the major sponsors of students at the community college there, and a lot of different things that they have told me about. It is based upon those things that people will be making their decisions. It's not about what Steve was alluding to. The truth remains, I empathize with you on the female representation thing, but the truth remains, the people there when they're voting, they are not going to be voting based on female representation. They're going to be voting in who they think at the moment will represent their best interest. The disadvantage with Senator Yomdi Kanga Lawrence, I stated with Senator DeLong, Mr. Jah, when you're not in the seat, it's easy. And to come and say, I will do this, I will do that. When you get in the seat, it is a completely different ball game. Senator Kanga has been there for 9 years. It is just of recent you see her trying to carry street leg and this and that and stuff like that. The people are going to ask her, Senator, you've been here since 9 years now. You just bring street leg. Besonga has been a farm. Even when he lost, now a farm, the effect and the impact is kind of increasing than ever before in Grand Bassa.
Thank you, Mr. Woolen. Mr. C.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Mr. Red. I promise I will have come to you, and I hope you are ready. Sometime last year, the chairman of CDC USA, Mamba Modu, along with Akaros Gray and Jefferson Koji, had a press conference. In that press conference, they called for the government of Liberia, its own government, to launch an investigation into individuals in government who were amassing wealth and building properties in no time. In that press conference, Momba Molu said, how do you sleep at night when our policies are being denied scholarship? How do you sleep at night when the people who struggle for the revolution are not being factored into government? And since then, we have seen one resignation after the other. The likes of Tamajasi, the likes of Axevac Tuba, or Jemima Wolo Colley's thing comes to mind too. Then of late, Phil Dixon. These are prominent citizens leaving the CDC or disagreeing with the CDC publicly. Don't all these things show that the CDC is not a CDC you knew, and that's the reason why they lost to DeLong and they may lose again?
Well, see, I hope and pray you can find another time that we have that conversation, and and maybe we could focus more on a senatorial election, because that is almost like our our inside politics, party politics you're trying to talk about. But since we are the ruling party, it becomes the Liberian people prerogative. So, but to just respond.
All right, then let me frame my question. Yeah. Please allow me to do that. Let me reframe my question. Phil Dixon is from the CDC, still with the CDP, CDC, he's running. Aseva Tuba, though resigned from the CDC, he's running and he has people in the CDC. Wolokoli is also running. And then you have Thomas Fowler. That's 4 candidates from the CDC, technically, whatever way you take it. I know for fact, and you know, that these 3 individuals are mentioned besides or other than Thomas Fowler, they have followers in the CDC that will vote for them. Don't those individuals undermine the CDC chances to pull through yet? That's the question I'm asking you.
Yeah, so see, again, the Liberian body politics is not like the US, for example, where the Democratic Republicans carry so much influence and hard to win elections outside those 2 parties. Liberia, most of the time, people say they want to represent their people, but it's mostly about they want jobs, right? Or sometimes not that they want jobs, sometimes they believe that they are the right candidates, but it's just that the party did not pick them. And, so again, it is their democratic rights to go out there and still contest. But the fact remains, CDC held the most transparent and most admirable primaries in the history of Liberia. I guess you've been following. CDC went to individual districts and the constituents themselves. Like in the case of Montserrado, for example, you have, I think, over 10,000 partisans that participated in that primary, and they decided their candidate, which is Thomas Fowler, Honorable Representative Thomas Fowler. And if you, Mr. Toba, Chairman Emeritus, a guy that I respect and admire so well, he contested in River State this going election. He was not successful. And he transitioned to Montserrado County. Probably he has the political urge that he has to satisfy. So I don't want to condemn anybody for their decision, but the truth remains here is our party, our constituents were the one that made the decision. You saw what happened. CPP.
Mr. Red, the question you are dodging here is that your vote block, all right, is being divided here among 4 persons, thereby minimizing the CDC chances. For the CPP, they have 1 man and that 1 man alone. And if they pour everything behind this man, they're going to win. For example,
in the just in the elections, we heard similar thing like you're claiming. People that has seditions, even the late senator, former CDC chairman, a lot of people, influential partisans of the CDC, they went to the Unity Party to support Joseph Boakai. The expectation was, with all of those people leaving the CDC and supporting Boakai, I think they were going to take away the CDC vote. What happened? George Weah won 14 out of the 15 counties in Liberia. That is overwhelming. That is unprecedented.
And yet, with that job we have, you could not win Montserrado against a DeLong.
Yes, because I told you what are some of the issues. Politics is politics is not static; it's dynamic. The dynamics of politics allow certain things to affect certain things at a given time. Because of that dynamics in politics, I told you exactly why the issue of DeLong went the way it went. But the variables have changed, and you're going to see it clearly. The CDC right now, despite all of the economic challenges our people are faced with, our people are seeing some of the developments they have never seen. In fact, most of the younger generations, people that were born since the war started, they have never had the privilege to have access to electricity, to roads, and some of the amenities.
Thank you, Mr. Ura. Your time is out, and you
Today at
mentioned
the
the
John F.
electricity
Kennedy
thing.
Memorial Hospital, we are conducting brain surgery.
Thank you, Mr. Ura.
We're far from where we should be, but I can tell you that Liberia is gradually making progress.
Thank you, Mr. Ura. Your time is out. Look, here's the thing, and this thing is interesting. You feature a female candidate. She was the only candidate you had. No one from the CDC contested in that race. You got woke. Now you got 4 of you, and then you think you're going to do it. But I'll leave it there. Let me come to Steve here. Steve, you are in trouble with
so
me.
You want
and
to throw a job and just leave it like that?
And Steve, yeah, my man, I'm the moderator. I have my right to my opinion. You have your time. Let me do my thing too. Steve, let me take you to Grand Bassa County. You have Nyombli Kanga Lawrence. Sorry that I am not strong on the Bassa issue because I don't follow. But I know that Bwesonga Finley is a heavy name in Grand Bassa. The name alone, Bwesonga. This man is the Bassa people's guy. And now you have a CPP candidate, and you have other people in Grand Bassa County that are running. I know about Emmanuel Juje is running. I heard about Mendina Harris is running.
Magdalene Harris.
Magdalene, thank you for that correction, Mr. Jai. I appreciate that. Is running. And there might be other people that we have not heard about. So you have a well-cluttered race here. You think Nyombli is having a chance there with the CPP?
I do think Nyombli is having a chance with the CPP. I do think so. And the reason I'm thinking so is because, let's come to Bwesonga Finley. First of all, Bwesonga Finley, again, I go back to one of the key factors that will affect him deeply. He has been disconnected from the people since he lost the last elections. So if we will calculate here mathematically, we might say maybe he's been gone for a little over 12 years or so forth. I could be wrong. I stand to be corrected on the numbers. So if you've been gone for 12 years and you have someone that's been there for 9 years or so forth, I don't see Bwesonga Finley coming and pulling this off. And again, I'm not saying that he's not a big name in Grand Bassa, but yet Nyombli Kanga is also a big name in Grand Bassa. We have to keep that. So these are two heavyweights. But the disadvantage is he's been going for a very long time. When I keep hearing my brother saying, you're talking about national issues. The truth of the matter is, if Bwesonga Finley, where we have a port in Monrovia, in Grand Bassa, we have another port in Grand Bassa, could not use his international influence and connections to lobby people there, to bring people there, to seek the people's interest. He waiting to be senator? It's not going to happen. Let him start fooling him. It's not going to happen. So here is Nyombli Kanga. I know my brother say, she just been putting light posts, these few days or whatever it is. My brother, the truth of the matter is this woman has been working for her people for the past 9 years. Whether you like it or not, it's a fact. But not only that, here's a bigger influence. There is a bigger influence, I think, that will nail Bwesonga Finley. The Liberty Party is referred to as the Bassa People Party. Here is the truth of the matter, though. This is a party from Charles Bronski that, peace be to his ashes, that Nyombli Kanga took over. And since she's taking over that party, you see how the Liberty Party has emerged to be one of the very strongest forces and parties in the country. She is the leader of that party. Now you tell me, putting all the dots together, where does Bwesonga Finley stands in retrospect to the demise of the CDC and the unpopularity of George Weah that is going on almost every day to winning somebody who is gaining momentum? This is not a debate when it comes to Nyombli Kanga. This is dead upon arrival. This is just a waste of time. Honestly, I think it's a waste of time.
I got one question for each of you when it comes to Grand Bassa. And let me start with you, Mr. Ray. As Steve said, Liberty Party, Grand Bassa, Bromsky and all that. So we know that Liberty Party is very strong in Grand Bassa. and Yombli Kanga has Lawrence having to be the current standard or the political leader has decided. I hate that name because it's just perpetuate one person who owns the party. I mean, and it looked like the CDC had no chance in that county. Does the CDC want this seat so bad that they have to pull Bazonga from the foreign ministry?
Well, it's not about so bad or so good. The thing, my brother, again, he made mistake when he said that Western got been, he has not been able to pull any investment. That's why they got put. I don't know if he's following the over $200 million investment that is expected to go to Grand Bassa County. Probably,
and that's the crux of my question. That's why the CDC is looking for somebody like that. By all means, they want to get Grand Bassa. Does the party want this seat so badly?
No, politics is all about strategies and different games. I can tell you, I'm not speaking from right now. I don't want to say I'm speaking on behalf of the entire strategy team of the CDC. But this by-election, CDC tried to look for all of the best sons and daughters of all of the counties that we are very confident can pull a victory for us. And when we went to Grand Bassa County, there was no other person we could find better than Wesonga Finley. Okay. And to address some of the claims my brother making, I think Steve it's not really. It will be easier if Steve say, "Oh, I'm not really been following the politics in Grand Bassa." That would be a very easy answer, and I would understand. That's not to say that I'm an expert on the Bassa politics. And, but at least I've been in contact with a lot of people that are in Grand Bassa that are give me, like my Steve and myself, we are both in the US here. So to some extent, I've been following it. I will not speak authoritatively about everything in Grand Bassa. But if you look at the current issue in Grand Bassa County in terms of voting, Besonga Finley, you talk to even people. I was talking to my man Saki from the senator office. He said, my man, Buchanan will be tough. But the rural part of Grand Bassa, yeah, the guy, we worry about because the guy, he really doing well in those areas. He really pulling a lot of strings there. So maybe Steve and myself said, yes, Steve just looking at it from the national level or the CPP support that he's giving, and he fantasizing that Yombi Kanga is going to do X, Y, Z. The Lower Party was the ruling, was the Bassa People Party to quote Steve, when Bresonga became senator there, senator in Grand Bassa. Liberty Party was the Bassa People Party to quote Steve when he saw what CDC did there in 2017 elections. So forget it. Those things, not Charles Bromsky running here again. Even when Bromsky was running, you saw what CDC did there in 2017. So I hope you're not just living by 2005 or 2011 happenings or statistics, and that's what you're basing your argument on, my dear brother.
Let me go to Steve with my question. Steve, quite recently we saw the kerfuffle in Nimba County with the primary, and when that happened, we see that Liberty Party, the same party that Yombli comes from, is the party that Mrs. Ide Gonglo represents. And mainly people from the ANC didn't like the results. And right during the election, they went on social media and said, let ANC field candidates in all 15 counties. Let's do it. So do you see that this crack in the, I want to call it a crack with a small c, in the CPP, wouldn't that pit the ANC against the Liberty Party folks in Grand Bassa, that you see that ANC people that are part of the CPP may not vote for Yombli, and that's going to favor Besonga Finley? Don't you see it that way?
Well, here is I think again, I go back to say the shuffles and the thing that we saw in Nimba County is wrong. I condemn it, but the truth of the matter is, I think this is a good exercise. But let me say this within the CPP, because if one would preach equity, then it must come with clean hands. And so I think this is a transforming movement within the CPP, wherein they can set the standard. Now, not to say there might not be impact, like you said, but I am saying to you today, from information I have gotten, that the CPP, they're working on solving this problem ASAP. This is why a meeting was convened right after the incident happened. I think either within 48 hours or so forth. I stand to be corrected. But here is the most important thing, though. I do not think this will stop Yombli Kanga or people will go against Yombli Kanga. Now, you will come to understand that Yombli Kanga, based on the results that they were getting, went ahead and said, yes, her candidate won. Well, that's what she did. She congratulated her candidate. Now, when it came back, she did right also condemning the incident. Now, we are yet the public to know about the discussions and the agreements that they've come up with. But I can say to you, and I can assure the Liberian people that the CPP will definitely support Yombli Kanga to the fullest, regardless of who wins that Nimakande seat. The CPP will support her to the fullest. But more importantly, Yombli Kanga has already established a base within Grand Bassa, and that is within the Unity Party and with the Bassa people as well. The Liberty Party, sorry, the Liberty Party, not the Unity Party. I'm sorry.
All right.
All right.
I think you guys have spoken well.
Mr. Jack, I just want to provide quick information to the team.
Okay.
I want my brother to know that President, we are campaigning openly for Yombli Kanga when she won the previous election. I just want to push that in.
Yeah, somebody made that comment here too. I know that where you're looking.
And that how is that going to help the CDC?
Okay, Mr. C, I think we can close this now. How is that going to help the
CDC?
Yeah, Mr. Red, I mean, I think it's been a good debate so far. We've gone exact 2 hours right now, and we don't want to go far above that. Gentlemen, we can't thank you enough, especially both of you, for always coming here to participate in elevating the conversation in our country when it comes to governance. I think we need to do this. Liberians need to understand that it doesn't matter what party you're from. We need to come together and discuss our country, because that's the only country we equally do have, and we must equally, jealously also protect it. And the best way to do it is to come together to have a conversation free of malice and all the vices that undermine civil and constructive conversation. Mr. Jai, I got something to close with, but I'll let you come in.
All right. Thank you guys for a beautiful debate. And we want to thank our audience taking in there with us. I know a lot of them are taking issues here and there, yeah. But it's always going to be that way. But we guarantee you can get it anywhere better than right here on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We always strive to bring Liberians together so that we debate the issue, because it is better to talk than to fight. As Dr. Formula said, our mom not gone. So it's better that we keep talking. Let's keep disagreeing to agree, because Liberia is the only country that we have. So let's do our best to debate the issues, to present all sides to our people so that they can make an informed decision. Again, thank you so much for coming. William, thank you too for your contribution and for the score. We really enjoy it, and I think we need to close this, Mr. CA, and we want to again thank all our guests tomorrow. Don't forget, we are having the Liberian Study Association right here at 6 p.m. to talk about the work that they do. Before that, we're going to have Mr. Edward Doe and Jerome Gaiman with On Point. They're going to be right here on Focus on Liberia, On Point discussing. And we also have an early surprise that I want Mr. CA to talk about. Mr. CA,
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jai. And that big surprise, tomorrow we will be having former CDC USA Chairman Emeritus, Mr. Joseph Taman Jackson, and it will be his journey in and out of the CDC and the politics of it all. Mr. Jackson will be here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, here at Focus on Liberia. Again, Joseph Taman Jackson, Chairman Emeritus of CDC USA. He's out of the CDC. We want to know how he went in and how he got out and the politics of it all. Mr. Jackson will be here to go into the issues, and I will be here, and we will be talking the issue. My man, my colleague will be spying. Steve Bullet will be smiling. I try to make Steve smile on that one. And so, folks, in Cyberspace, we can't thank you enough. We can't thank our intellectual debaters enough. Gentlemen, because of time, we can't do our usual closing statement. I will have the benefit to close. The races in December will decide who sits in that executive mansion in 2023. I don't know who that person is going to be. My thing is going to be Bekube. I'm not sure of that. I don't have my feelings, and people know that about me. Will it be Boyka? Will it be a Cummings? Will it be DeLong because I see this guy walking, taking these giant steps, and now he's the light. That light man transformed into the chief executive. I just don't know. I'm not blowing his trumpet. I'm just telling you, it might just happen. Well, I don't want to make somebody hungry, but I like to pay some people off sometimes. That is my job. I go on this side, some people are happy. I come on the other side, other people are happy. I'm the guy in the middle. But hey, this is Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, we promote all things Liberia. Folks, I have this very special song for you. It is the song that binds us together. It is the song that reminds us of who we are as a people. And that song says we are all Liberian, no matter your party, CPP or CDC, whatever that is, we are all Liberians. And here at Focus on Liberia, we are saying, listen, Mr. Jai, where is your mouth? Corona is still real. Listen to that song 1 minute, and we are saying to you, bye-bye for the day.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.